Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Build with Pandora. Welcome to Build with Pandora. Good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to Build with Pandora. Thank you for joining me today as I take you through day 7 of this knowledge sharing session, this 30 minutes knowledge sharing session, held every weekday from 1 o'clock to about 1:30, thereabout. Welcome. So we're just going to wait a couple of more seconds for others looking to join this live to join in. Okay. All right, so let's get started. Yesterday on Build with Pandora, we touched on the topic that had to do with, I believe, marketing mistakes that businesses make, and I believe we touched on 5 of them. We addressed topics with relations to analytics. We addressed topics in relations to reporting. We addressed topics in relations to visibility, as well as optimization, right? So it's pretty much straightforward. If you'd like to watch that video, just for guidance as to what to do in terms of your marketing and to avoid such mistakes, you can go back to it. I think I'm going to touch on more of those topics at a much later date, but for now, we're just going to move on to another topic, okay? These topics are not pre-planned. I usually just come on live, and as I am led to open my mouth and speak on certain topics that affects sectors or industries, that's what I do. So today, the topic that comes to mind is within the business-to-business terrain. And why is that? I think I came across a recent article that touched on why there's a reduction in terms of business-to-business marketing budgets, and that literally triggered some sort of reaction in me, and it made me remember when I used to head a group of companies, and one of the companies I headed their communications for was a business-to-business unit, right? And this was in a market that was not as popular, right? There's some business-to-business businesses that are very popular, and there are some that are not as popular. This particular brand was in the business of fleet management. So when you say fleet management, is the management of fleet. So when you have big companies, big corporations, and they have a large employee base, usually they have shuttle of fleets that would actually take them back from home, from the office to their home, and so on and so forth. So pretty much the management of such fleets. As well as for fast-moving consumer goods, they have fleets of trucks that actually conveys goods. If they're not using the seaports, they're using it by road. So that's the entire value chain is what I'm talking about. So for this organization, I know that when I first joined the organization, obviously I wasn't conversant with that. And that's because I did not have a background in that. But one thing was clear: once you have an understanding of marketing fundamentals, it's easy for you to apply it across any sector or any industry. It does not really matter that you have just knowledge on e-commerce, right? Once you have the foundational knowledge in terms of marketing, you can apply it on in e-commerce, you can apply it for business to business, for FMCGs, whatever it is. You just have to ensure that at the end of the day, you understand the fundamentals. Who are the people you're speaking to? What is the message? And what's the storytelling angle? What are the channels of communications being deployed? How are you measuring that performance? Pretty much those fundamentals. So for this fleet management organization, it was a thing whereby it was my task as well as that of my department to ensure that we sold those fleets. So the software, the tracking, and all that, it was our responsibility to do that. So that was a challenge. I love challenges. So that was a challenge I was willing to take on. So it was one that we embraced fully, really. And what did we start with? And this session is going to be more of that, sharing how we actually successfully penetrated the Nigerian and West African market with that particular software solution. How did we start? First of all, we understood that for people to be more knowledgeable about what we actually were looking to sell, we had to create content about it. It was really that simple. So we worked with the research and development team, so that's the R&D team, to ensure we created content that has to do with what the software was all about and why the software was a pivotal part of what an organization, especially the logistics and transportation department, should want to own. So pretty much content was created around that, visual content as well as text-based content. So if they do search for fleet management system in Lagos or in Nigeria or West Africa, that sort of content, in which we call evergreen content, was going to come out. So that's how we started. Obviously, we had to ensure we had a website as well to house some of this content. And aside from that, which obviously it was an informational website, and the website I think was also, it was basically an informational website as well as a website, yes, where users of the fleet solution could easily access the backend. So it was a multi-dual platform, if you will. And another aspect in which the marketing team stepped up to actually leverage the site was to ensure that we had brochures, right? Brochures that communicated every aspect of the solution. So if you're interested in just the fleet management tracking, you get the brochure for that once you get to the landing page. If you're interested in the software aspect of things, you get the brochure for that once you get to the landing page. Why did we take this approach? We took this approach because research showed us, as well as us stepping out of the marketing mode and also thinking like our clients, what would they like to see? We understood that the final decisions do not rest with the fleet manager. It usually rests with someone higher up, and the someone higher up would always ask for more information, right? And on that basis, we actually created that content avenue and had it uploaded on the website, and it was a success. And from there, we created short form videos that was easy to assimilate. I think it's still on YouTube. It's still on the YouTube page of the brand. Short form content, explain our videos, how-to videos, and so on and so forth, and how to use the software and what the software was about. So even if your guy would not read the brochure, it's as simple as sending him the link for him to have an understanding of what it was to be. And afterwards, it was then time to advertise. And how did we successfully advertise this solution that had about 80% of the current customer base of the B2B company adopt this solution? We used different tactics, but primarily we leveraged tactics that had to do with, incentives, right? So we incentivized our marketing efforts. Now, this how does this look like? It's pretty much saying that you bring in a business and this is the commission you get, right? So we created a whole brokerage system around that to ensure we rewarded our existing customer base. So that way, even if you're not going to use the solution, you know someone that knows someone that will use the solution, and you still get rewarded for it at the end of the day. So it was such a transparent system, and it was one that we put together so beautifully. I was talking about advertising, so I'm going to go back to that. In terms of advertising, it was very clear in terms of the platforms that we're going to use, and that's because we identified our personas very early on while we were building the platform with the R&D team. I believe they also call product managers in the old school, yeah. So it was one that we easily identified our target audience. So who were we talking to? Who are they in terms of psychographics, the demographics, the attributes, the channels of communications they would usually default to. And so we created videos, right? Because we knew that was more of a short form content that was like Instagram was going to be a no for that particular solution because they were just not there for that particular purpose. Um, uh, so yeah, so Instagram is not for everything. That's what I'm trying to say. Especially for B2B, you have to be very cognizant of what you're selling and who you're selling it to. And if they do happen to be on Instagram, which I really doubt for business to be, especially a lot of categories under the business umbrella, you go for it. But if not, you have to go where your customers are, pardon me. So YouTube was a platform where we leveraged heavily, and not we didn't just get leads and inquiries and customers from there. We also built a franchise system as a result of measuring the performance of what we saw YouTube actually garner over a period of time. We analyzed the data, so we saw that once we uploaded the first video, the performance of it, we created another script from another direction, right? And pretty much measured it more of a A/B test type of thing. We measured it to see which one was performing best and why it was performing best. Obviously, it had a rerouted page. It had to land too, and to ensure that we could easily track the performance as well as garner a lot of leads as they were coming in. Obviously, phone calls was also a part of it. So it was a partnership between the sales team, right, the marketing team, the R&D team, as well as the execution team. So that's very, very important, especially if you're working internally. If you're working with an agency, it's as simple as ensuring all units are part of that conversation, so nobody's left out of the loop. And that's something I see a lot now that I'm an agency owner, right? Um, a lot of clients are reluctant to share certain data, right? Even if you've signed an NDA, right? They're very reluctant in sharing certain data, but this data is actually pivotal to knowing what your agency can actually do better for you. It's very, very important. If you keep the data within your system and you do not leverage the insights the data proves, you're just going to be spending the same money over and over again. You're not learning from the past campaign or the past marketing efforts you actually did. So it's very, very important. I really wanted to touch on that. So from there, the software actually grew, and we ended up actually creating pockets of franchises across West and East Africa for the particular solution as a result of the need that we saw as well as the inquiries that we we're getting. And it's really, I won't say it's that simple, because again, if you do not know who you're speaking to, if you do not know how to communicate to them, if you do not know pretty much create this foundational knowledge, it will be hard for you to actually market to these guys. So for business budget being cut off or being reduced, we were working with a very tight budget. We're not working with an unlimited budget. In fact, we always worked with a very limited budget for that particular organization. But we have to look for innovative ways to actually ensure that at the end of the day, we still attain the objectives, the business goals, as well as the marketing goals that we wanted to attain for the client. And pretty much the business is still existing and it's still doing well. I think that's pretty much it. Is there any other thing you'd like me to touch on? Maybe you have questions for me. I'll be more than happy to answer any of those questions that you may have for that. And with this, I'm also going to highlight some questions I receive a lot from business to business owners. So we had a very reputable organization visit the agency a couple of days back. And one of the questions they actually asked was for renewable energy for certain products, right? For certain solutions that has to do with energy, right? How will you successfully penetrate the market? And again, it goes back to you have to look at the pricing of the product. Yes, it may not be a huge factor because people pay for value, but you also have to look at the pricing of the product, because with the pricing of the product, you would also know the sort of audience you're speaking to. While I also know, because we've created a lot of strategies for energy companies as well as renewables across the years, one thing I know for sure is that people are willing to pay for value. One, two, those that cannot afford it, they would aspire to own it, right? And that's where partnership comes in. So even as a business organization, if your product is highly priced, another great way to actually circumvent that in ensuring that you still generate leads is to partner. There are a lot of loan companies out there. There are a lot of financial companies out there. I used to work for a financial service company. And one of the things we highly encourage was partnerships, right? With regards to the end users getting what they want and we getting what we want in terms of their information as well as them, coming to us for their loan needs. So partnership would actually ensure that the financing of some of those things goes a long way. I know that that's not an information that is so prevalent within this market, especially within Africa. We like to pay things upfront, but it's always really wise for you to actually spread the payment over a period of time. So that being said, I think I'm going to pause there now. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chats, and I'll be more than happy to respond to it as soon as I can get to it. What else? If you have any topic, yes, that you'd like me to touch on, something that's been bothering you with regards to marketing, either app downloads, app advertising within healthcare, because healthcare is also another arm of, is also rather another industry whereby you cannot advertise. Actually, it's very apparent. Let me know. I'm more than happy to share tactics on how to go about that. So thank you so much for joining Build with Pandora today. I remain Kende Ruth Amashoga, also known as KRO.